Rebbe Nachman stresses the importance of learning what's called Halacha, Torah law, every day. He says clearly, explicitly in the book Sichot Haran, Rebbe Nachman's wisdom, that every Jew has an obligation to learn Halacha, Torah law, every day. Every day. You have to make sure that the day does not pass without learning at least Halacha, 2 halachot, but that's minimum. We have sometimes upside down days that we're traveling and this and that. So you must make sure that the day does not pass without learning Torah law. Now, what is the whole emphasis? Rebbe Nachman, he has many lessons explaining the importance of learning halacha. Basically, in one of them, he explains like this. What is halacha? What is Torah law? Torah law, what's called the Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law, takes the culmination of all the laws discussed in their source, which begins in the Mishnah, and then to the Talmud, and then going on to the Geonim, Rishonim, and Achronim, and then finally the code of Jewish law brings, okay, finally, what do we do? So in this process, there are differences of opinions. Already from the Mishnah, you'll have Rabbi Yehuda says like this, and Rabbi Meir says like this, and Rabbi Elazar says like this, and Rabbi Akiva says like this, and Rabbi Tarfon, and Rabbi Ishmael, and then also in the Gemara, Rav Ashi, Rava, Rav Papa, all these opinions, and then it goes on afterwards. The Rambam says like this, and the Rosh says like this, and the Baal HaTurim says like this, and the Agor says like this. All the rabbis from every stage, and the Shulchan Aruch brings finally what is the final psak. So what is the halacha doing? From all the what's called conflicts of holiness, machloket diktusha. In other words, that the rabbis, whether from the Mishnah, the Gemara, and then later on from the Rishonim, Achronim, those periods of those eras of Torah Judaism in the world, where they're having a conflict as to what is the proper way to serve Hashem. So finally there is a conclusion. This is the way. Halacha is like A and not like B. So this is now a clarification of this conflict, this strife, but it's in the domain of holiness. So now Rebbe Nachman, he explains that all of the conflict that you're going in your life personally, in other words, all the struggles that you're having with the Yetzer Hara, with the evil, all the doubts implanted, should I eat this? Should I go to this place? Should I invest my money in this area? Should I do this? Should I move to Israel? Should I marry this woman? Should I put my children in this type of education? Should I dress like this? All the questions and doubts and also struggles that you have also in coming close to Hashem. Why do I feel Hashem is pushing me away? I just want to become a better Jew. I can't understand. All these struggles and conflicts that you're going through on your personal level are ultimately rooted in holiness, in the conflict of holiness found in the Mishnah, the Gemara, and so on, and the Rishonim, Achronim, etc. So he teaches something amazing, Rebbe Nachman, that it's a rule that when you want to mitigate a severity, a judgment, go to the source. Always attack and solve a problem at its source. Don't try to go head on, because it's like just putting a patch on a garment and the hole still stays there. You haven't solved the problem. Rather go a step forward, go ahead, go above, to the source. So Rebbe Nachman teaches learning halacha, which means going through the process of learning the differing opinions and then finally learning the finalized halacha, or for those who are not at that capability, just already learning finalized halacha, Torah law. What this does is it already clarifies within you the root of the strife and the struggle and the conflict that you're going through inside of you. So by learning the halacha, which is the conflict where this halacha came from, was the spiritual source, is the spiritual source of the conflict you're going through. Now that it's being solved and you've learned the solution, you've learned the finalized law, tefillin are put on like this, Shabbat is kept like this, the lulav and etrog is in this format of the 3 myrtle branches and not 2 and not 1, and 2 aravot and 1 etrog and 1 lulav and not 2 lulavim and this and that. Like there's different opinions in the Mishnah and the Gemara. Learning the halacha finalized what it should be like, Rebbe Nachman teaches automatically does a sifting within you. So in other words, when learning halacha, it's not just learning to know what to do, which is for sure of absolute importance. That's number one. To be a Jew, you have to know how to be a Jew. And that's what Torah law guides a person, instructs. You can't just, okay, I'm a Jew, I can do what I want. There's a guidelines how Hashem wants you to live in connection to His kingship, to His rulership, accepting Hashem as your Lord, and the Torah, and the Tzaddikim, and Moshe Rabbeinu. So there's guidelines. You can't just do what you want. You can't eat pork. You can't just eat on Yom Kippur. There's guidelines. That's why we have to learn halacha. But besides that, there's what's called the segula, the spiritual benefit of learning halacha, in that it causes a personal clarification. Another of Rebbe Nachman's most fundamental teachings is hitbodedut, which is talking out to Hashem. Both are required, learning halacha and doing hitbodedut, talking to Hashem, and both work hand in hand. Learning halacha already does a clarification, and now what's left is that a person davens to Hashem about his problems, his difficulties, what he's going through, and with the aid and assistance of learning halacha in the same day, it brushes off on your davening in your own words to Hashem, and because now you've clarified from the source which direction you should be taking in life, it has its ramifications in your davening, and you see much more clear what Hashem is trying to tell you to do in life. So this, in a nutshell, is the importance and the greatness of learning halacha. And again, it's a daily devotion of learning halacha every day.